Hello, good morning everybody. Today we will go through our next chapter, chapter 7, of our textbook. Name of the chapter is The Invention of Vita, Wonk. So invention is when we produce something new, and let us see what new invention is done in our story. It's a very interesting story that talks about a particular invention. But before we read it, let us see who are the oldest people you know. Who are the oldest people in your house, in your relation, in your surroundings? What are the oldest things you have in your house, in your city, town, or village? How old are they? Let us try to think of what are the things that are very old and is in your surroundings. Have you ever wished that you were older? Have you ever wished that you could be older than you are? Have you wished that you could grow up in a hurry? Have you ever thought that you could grow up bigger very quickly? This story has such answers. So let us read what is there in the story. Mr. Willy Wonka is the name of a person, begins by inventing Wonka White, which makes people younger. Mr. Willy Wonka is an inventor who started his inventions by inventing a new thing that made the people younger than their age. But Wonka White is too strong. Too powerful, very powerful. So some people disappear because their age becomes minus. It is so strong, this medicine is so powerful that some people who took the doses of this medicine disappeared and their age was in minus. Their age was reversed. One person actually becomes minus 87. One person who took this medicine, actually his age became in minus. Suppose he was of a particular age, but now after taking that medicine, his age was minus 87, which means he has got to wait 87 years before he can come back. It means that person will take 87 years to come back to the normal age. Mr. Willy Wonka must invent a new thing. And now the problem is, he must invent a new thing so that this problem can be solved. Mr. Wonka said, so once again I rolled up my sleeves and set to work. So once again I started working to invent the miracle medicine. So I rolled up my sleeves, I got ready and started work. Once again I squeezed my brain. Once again I started working. Once again I started squeezing my brain, that is focusing on my aim, searching for the new recipe, searching for the new medicine. I had to create his. And this time, what was the challenge? He had to create his to make people old, older, oldest. He wishes to make people older, older, and oldest. We remember, previously he has invented a medicine to make people younger and younger and youngest. Ha ha, he cried. For now, the ideas were beginning to come. What is the oldest living thing in the world? Joyfully he says, laughingly he says, now the ideas have started coming to my mind. I want to know what is the oldest living thing in the world. Which is the most old thing in the world? What lives longer than anything else? What is the thing in the world that's life is longer than anything else? A tree, Charlie said. Charlie, the other person, said, a tree. A tree lives longer than any other. Right? You are, Charlie. Charlie, you're right. But what kind of a tree? Which tree? Which tree lives longer than anything else in the world? Not the Douglas fir. Douglas fir is the name of a tree. That is a tree with the needles like leaves and cones. Picture you can see. Not the oak. Oak is also a tree. Not the cedar. No, no, my boy. He says, no, no. These are not the trees that lives older than any other tree. It's a tree called the bristlecone pine that grows upon the slopes of Wheeler Peak in Nevada, USA. He says, no, these trees do not. Douglas fir, oak, cedar, these are not the trees that live longest. He said, it's a tree called the bristlecone pine that grows upon the slopes of Wheeler Peak in Nevada, USA. He said, this particular kind of tree, known as bristlecone pine, it grows in the Nevada region of USA. You can find bristlecone pines on Wheeler Peak today that are over 4,000 years old. He said, you can find this particular tree in that particular park on Wheeler Peak even today, and these trees are older than 4,000 years. This is fact, Charlie. This is truth, Charlie. Ask any dendrochronologist you like, or you can ask anyone who studies the science of old things. You like, and look that word up in the dictionary when we get home. Will you please? And he said, Charlie, you can ask anybody, and when you go home, check up this word in your dictionary. So that started me off with this idea. He says, I started my work. I jumped into the great glass elevator and rushed all over the world collecting special items from the oldest living things. He said, I started my journey, so I jumped into the great glass elevator and rushed all over the world. I went all over the world, collecting special items from the oldest living things. And in a journey of the whole world, he said, I collected. What he collected? These are the things. A pint of sap from a 4,000-year-old Bristol corn pine. A pint, a small part of this tree. The toenail clippings from a 168-year-old Russian farmer called Petrovich Gregorevich is the name of the farmer from Russia. He said, I collected one nail from that person. An egg laid by a 200-year-old tortoise belonging to the king of Tonga. He said, I collected an egg of a tortoise that belonged to a king in Tonga. The tail of a 51-year-old horse in Arabia. I also collected the tail of a 51-year-old horse that is in Arabia. The whiskers of a 36-year-old cat called crumpets. The hair of a cat which was of 36 years old. An old flea which had lived on crumpets for a 36-year-old. And these are the different things he has collected. The tail of a 207-year-old giant rat from Tibet. The black teeth of a 97-year-old grimalkin living in a cave on Mount Popocatépetl. This is the name of the place. The conchal bones of a 700-year-old Catalu from Peru. So he said, in my world tour, I went to the different places and collected all these things. All over the world, Charlie. So this is part 1.